Hey everyone, Mark here with North of the Wall Garage. We're going to do something a little fun today. I guess it's a modification. We're going to make another attempt to improve the rear hitch appearance and functionality on the Lexus GX550 with this. This is the Diode Dynamics Hitch Mount light. What's interesting is it functions as a reverse light, a running light when your taillights are on, and then a fourth brake light as well. And you can actually see that depicted on the back of the box there. So it hooks up to your trailer wiring harness in the back just through the OEM connection. Super smooth, quick install. They say about 5 minutes. We'll test that out when I do it for the first time without even opening this box. So we'll give it a shot live. And I just think it'll be an interesting modification. When you look at the rear of the GX, the taillights are pretty small. There's only just, two taillights, and there's the light bar in the middle, which is great when you have your headlights on, but there's just two taillights on the back. The actual light put out from the taillight tends to be, fairly minuscule. So I don't know, this seems like a nice little safety upgrade, and it might actually make the appearance of the rear of the GX look even a little better. So haven't seen anyone else with an install video, so hopefully this is helpful to you if you're thinking about this purchase. I've also dropped an Amazon link in the description just in case you're interested in this. This is one of the ways you can help support the channel. Of course, zero pressure, but if you're genuinely interested in it and think it's something that you're going to do, feel free to follow that link and it helps support us. So thank you for that. All right, let's take a look at what we're dealing with. So the other thing I'll note about this kit here is that you do not need any tools for this installation. My work area is just left over from other projects in the past. We're in full winter mode here. The garage is absolutely trashed, but no tools needed for this install. Super straightforward, and we'll show you all the steps involved. The other thing I will note is this kit on the Diode Dynamics website is designed for the Toyota Tundra, the newest one from 2022 through 2025 and present. This will work just fine on the GX. It's on the exact same chassis. The wiring harness is going to be identical that we're going to need to link into. And honestly, probably the distance between the hitch and the wiring harness is all the same. So this kit for the Tundra works perfectly for the GX550. All right, let's see what we got in here. Stickers. All right, so here is the piece that plugs into the wiring harness. And there's two different types of models, by the way. This is the C1R model, which will blink as you're slowing down to a stop. Almost like you see on the race cars if you ever watch Formula One when they're hitting the brakes. The rear light will pop, 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 blink a little bit as you slow down. The C1 will just hit the brake light and it'll just be a constant light. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. But, got the C1R. This is a case for the light itself. This is what will actually sit in the hitch. And if you did want to put a pin through it, there are tabs here you could break off, and you could put like a trailer pin through this to hold it in if you're worried about theft. And here's the light itself. So the light gets hooked up to the harness. The harness will plug into the trailer wiring harness on the car, and this is just a case to hold it all in. So just to get acquainted underneath the car here, obviously this is the hitch with the plastic pieces removed. I cover this in my towing video, among others, so there's plenty of videos out here on how to get this piece off. The surround piece just pops off, and the middle piece that looks like a diaper, as people criticize, just has two plastic pins at the bottom that you just pop off with a flathead screwdriver. Then underneath, our wiring harness plug sits in here, and what I need to figure out is if I probably will remove the wiring harness just from behind the plug right here, and maybe plug directly into that versus plugging into this. I got to figure that one out, and I will report back with results. Okay, so just going to talk through this. Here is the hitch. I'm laying on the ground here looking up. And then to the left of the hitch underneath the vehicle is your trailer pin hookup. The harness plugs into this back area right here. So when I did this was sitting on top of this connection. One other thing to note, this is on there pretty firmly from the factory onto the back of the trailer pin connector. So there is a little area here on the side designed for a flathead, I believe, to help gently wedge this up. You certainly don't want to break the pin connector on your new Lexus, so just a heads up on that. I did use a flathead screwdriver just to tease this up off of the pin connector. Okay, so the first step here is I'm going to take this 7-pin harness connector and just connect it to where I disconnected the factory setup. So this will go into the factory setup where I disconnected. I'm gonna take this harness and put it into the factory connection right here. Okay, so that is now plugged in, snapped into the factory connection. And then I'm going to take this piece here and plug it into the actual factory harness up here. I'm probably going to need 2 hands to do that, so I'm just going to connect again this piece here to this piece here. Very simple. Okay, so again, the 7-pin connector mounts up with the factory connection here, and then up above I have the other 7-pin connector to the factory harness plugged in up above where this pin connector is from the factory. So the whole harness just kind of ends up getting tucked up there just based on the angle that it needs to reach in order for those 2 connectors to work. So what's nice about this setup real quick too is that because I'm connecting back into the pin connectors here from the factory, and then I'm basically extending the harness. So these pin connectors will still work. This plug-in will still work. So obviously if I'm trailering and I need to use the traditional harness hookup, as you would if you were trailering anything properly, you don't need to go ahead and disconnect the entire assembly back here. You only need to disconnect your DT hookup from the back of the pod and pull the pod out of the hitch. So that piece is very simple and well designed, well thought out by Diode Dynamics. The next step is to take the DT connector here and simply thread it through the back of the hitch such that I can connect it to the light pod. So again, all you have to do is come up behind the spare tire here. So the wire comes out, the wire comes through the hitch here, behind the spare tire and back into the harness. And again, I can zip tie all this. The kit does provide zip ties and want to make it nice and clean and tucked up there. So now we'll move to install the light pod. One other thing to note here as I plug the pod into the DT connector, the kit comes with a larger shield, basically. That will not fit in the GX550 hitch, so do not use the larger cover. I assume this is probably designed, maybe it's Tundra specific or for some other application. So I have my light pod, and I'm gonna hook it up to the DT connector. Very simple, we'll hear a click. There it is. Now just insert it into the hitch. There it is, pretty secure. Okay, I'm gonna put my plastic cover on and then we'll check for functionality. Quick voiceover here since CarPlay killed my audio output for the microphone. So at any rate, here I'm just looking at the results of our install. And from far away, I actually think it looks really nice. The light is looking really good there. That's just with the taillights on, the headlights on. So you're just getting the non-stop light red light. So that is the standard running light, if you will, at nighttime with those headlights on. But the one thing I'm seeing here is this does protrude out quite a bit, probably an inch or so, as compared to that flat $7 plug where I've shared in previous videos that I normally run. So obviously this kit was designed for the Tundra, and when you look at images of this kit on the Tundra, it sits more flush with the hitch. So I can't say I'm in love with the way this looks as is. Obviously, this is not GX550 specific kit, so maybe Diode Dynamics will actually come out with a GX550 kit and this will sit more flush. But running the Tundra kit, it does come out about an inch, and that for me is probably a deal breaker. I just don't love the way it looks. And there are some who run this setup with the plastic cover over it who have dremeled out the cover such that the light pops out the cover, and I will put that image in now and reference it later in the video as well. Quick nighttime footage for everyone here. You can see that the light is really nicely illuminating a path straight down my reverse path. You can also see it on the secondary 360 camera above. So it really does put out a ton of light, which is genuinely appreciated. It is really nice to have that back there. Not that the lighting was bad originally. The camera's pretty good on the GX, and the taillights throw off a decent amount of light, at least the reverse lights do. But it is really nice to have that extra added light in the back. All right, so some closing thoughts, and it wouldn't be a car install video if you didn't cut yourself at least once, right? I've been doing installations and work on cars for like 15 years now, and there's just always something that happens, and that's what makes it fun. Anyways, so my final thoughts on the Diode Dynamics Hitch Mount Kit. I would wait for the GX550 specific one to come out. For my taste, it protrudes a little bit too much for my liking against that hitch plate. I like to run the hitch without the plastic cover, without the kind of diaper. So for me, this just pops out a little bit too much. No question, the kit is really, really well designed. I think the functionality with the plug-in harness that kind of replaces the factory or adds on appends to the factory harness is really great design. The light is clearly high quality. Again, this is assembled in the USA, so everything about this kit is high quality. But of course, I'm jumping the gun a little bit, buying a Tundra kit for the GX550, kind of hoping that it would work. Again, if you want to run this, you definitely can with the plastic cover on. If you're willing to sort of Dremel a square into that plastic cover, again, I'll put that picture in I talked about earlier with the GX550 running that setup. But overall, a little bit bummed it didn't work out quite to my liking. I will probably go back to that $7 cheap rubber hitch cover that I run. Again, I know that's controversial for me. I think that's the way the truck looks best right now. I'll be interested to continue to keep my eye out for options like this or a GX550 specific pod that maybe fits a little more flush. Everyone else is talking about aftermarket bumpers, all this other stuff. Honestly, I've seen a few aftermarket bumpers. I'll put an image of one in now. I think they're really cool. They're obviously very utilitarian, but it doesn't really solve the hitch cover issue. The hitch still protrudes a bit. I just think it's the design of the car. The whole hitch assembly sort of plugs into the frame. I just think that's just part of the design of the vehicle, and it's difficult to overcome that. So yeah, the aftermarket bumpers, I suppose, solve for that a little bit. It looks a little bit better, but you know, was it worth the several $1,000s for that? Unless you're a hardcore off-roading going to Moab, I wouldn't recommend running that. So at any rate, fun install. Thanks for hanging out with me. I always enjoy working on the car, no matter what time of year it is. Even if it's freezing, it's always fun to put something together. I think Diode Dynamics is a great company. I think their product's awesome. I just think it's time to wait for a GX550 specific product and not put the Tundra one in. So I will put a note at the beginning of the video when I talk about wanting to buy this product. I will put a big disclaimer, wait till final review, wait till final thoughts, because I definitely think that it's worth seeing it all the way through before you purchase this. So thanks again for joining me. As always, appreciate everyone's likes and subscriptions. We're going to do a little bit more Toyota and Lexus content coming up, but as the weather warms up, I promise we'll get into the German cars as well. Have some Porsche stuff lined up, have some BMW stuff lined up, so we'll get into the sports cars eventually when spring comes around. It's the long wait now here in the Northeast. So thanks again for watching, and see you at the next one.